Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the five rivers.
Beatsmith music.
What is good, Raider Nation? I'm back. The Pharaoh is back, man. It's been a long hiatus. I know. I'm back to the Tomb. Shout out to the Tomb Raider. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Be prepared for a great show today, man. I'm gonna have a special guest. Obviously, the cat's already out the bag. I mean, Raider Ray's out in the backstage real quick, but let me go to the chat real quick. Man, it's a lot to talk about, man. I haven't really talked about the Chargers game. I want to talk about, there's actually a Chargers Chiefs game going on right now, so we'll probably talk about that a little bit. But before we get into that, let me say what's up to the chat real quick. Digital Prez, he says, man, I have arrived at Sand Carpet premiere of the Tomb, Resurrection of King Pharaoh. Hey, shout out to Prez, man. Hey, as you can see, I have a new intro. It's been a long time coming. I appreciate it. He came through for me. Came through in the clutch. Man, Prez, he's a talented individual. ONT6, man. Hey, man, you're a real one. He says Prez is in the building. What are the Cardinals going to do when the Raider Nation opens a can of whoop ass on their candy ass if you smell what Raider Nation is cooking? Okay, a little The Rock WWE reference. I love it. I love it. Sean, man, this is the Adam Schefter of Raider Nation right here, always coming through with the stats. He says, hey, Pharaoh, hope all is well. Hope all is well with you, brother. My brother El Capitan Raphael, man, yo, what's good, nation? El Capitan has arrived to crash the chat, man. I appreciate you coming through. Van City, man, yo, everyone's favorite Canadian in the house, man. I appreciate showing some love. I also see you in Raider Ray's channel as well, man. We all love the support from you. Let's see who's in here. Oh my God, Severe Raider, man, what's going on? I know it's been a minute. It's been a long time. You know what I mean? I'm kind of rusty right now. I'm trying to get everything together for y'all, but we're gonna have a good show. But let me go ahead and introduce, or y'all already know him, man. He's the hottest thing out right now, man. He's at one. He's basically at 1K. I mean, the guy is a rising star, greater content creator, man. The dude knows his stuff. But let me say less, man. Let me just add him to the stream, man. What's good, man? Raider Ray, what's going on, brother?
Hey, what's good, bro? I'm glad to get on here and talk to you. I'm walking these sandy halls a little bit. I hear there's a Pharaoh around that knows some things about the Raiders. So.
Hey, man, that's the thing, man. That's the thing here. You in the Tomb, man. So be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. No, I'm just playing. But Alfredo at Raiders Facts, man. Hopefully we'll be saying that before and after the game this weekend. And I'm pretty sure I feel like we're gonna do that. Hey, man, Buddha, what's good, family? What's good, man? I appreciate you coming through. Ben Bad, salute, Pharaoh. I appreciate you coming through. Salute to you. Linnell, my guy, man, was good, homie. He said, good to see you back. I know, man, it's been a minute, but hey, I'm back and I'm here to stay, bro. I'm here to stay. Let's see. Raider Rate for life, man. Salute, Pharaoh. I appreciate you coming through, Raider. Man, oh my God, man. It's been a minute. But hey, man, like I haven't really had a chance to talk to anybody about like what happened last Sunday. I know you had a show the other day, so I know you got into it a little bit. Like, tell me your thoughts, man. Like, how do you feel about after week one, man? I had high hopes. I was like every Raider fan. I'm thinking like a blowout was gonna happen. You know what I mean? I thought not a blowout. I thought it was gonna be a good game, and I thought the Raiders were gonna take care of it in the end before the game. But obviously reality set in, and I'm gonna let you take over from that, man. What do you think?
Hey, to be real with you, man, our keys to victory were pretty spot on. It's just the Raiders fell short in those areas. The Raiders actually did a really good job of containing Austin Eckler. I thought the run defense was actually pretty decent. We limited to that offense to being a pass-heavy offense, but the problem is Justin Herbert did something that Derek Carr was not doing, and that was extending the plays with his legs, getting out of the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, and making accurate passes. So really, man, it just, to me, I don't know about you, Pharaoh, but when the game was on, it just something fell off. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like the game plan was it wasn't a detailed game plan. It wasn't specific of how we're going to attack them due to scheme. It was just it felt like the Devontae Adams show. So how are you feeling about it?
Man, I just felt like same way, bro. I felt like it was off. I felt like Derek Carr was playing backyard football. He wasn't comfortable. Like it was just, and I said this to you a little bit earlier, and yeah, I even tweeted this out. You know, like, I wish the Raiders actually had the starters out there in the preseason, the defense and the offense, because this is a brand new system. The coaches don't know these players. The players don't know the coaching staff and their systems. So they had a lot of kinks that they needed to work out, and obviously everything played out on Sunday, where you can see like why didn't they run the ball a little bit more? Like you know what I mean? What happens to the short passing game? I love the aggressiveness from Derek Carr, and he admitted after the game as well, like he got a little too aggressive. There were plays out there that he could have took, but I just felt like, it was like I was alluding to earlier about the tweet. I was trying to say that last year it was the same deal. Derek Carr looked rusty, and guess who was getting the most of the catches? Darren Waller. I think they had 20. He had 20 opportunity, like 20 chances to get the ball. Like I
Yep,
forgot
20
it. 20
targets.
targets. I mean, 20 targets.
Yep.
And that's crazy, bro. Like 20 targets for Darren Waller that first game, and then 17 targets for Devontae Adams, which tells me like he's still trying to figure things out. Why don't I just go to my best receiving option, because I know he's going to come down with the ball? And I'm sure Derek Carr was super excited to have all his weapons out there, especially Derek Carr. I mean, especially Devontae Adams, like his boy, his best friend, his college teammate, obviously 1A, 1B best friend, right? But I just think that like offensively, it just didn't, like you said, it looked off. Like, and this is another thing too. I want to hear your thoughts too about how do you feel about the defense and their performance? We're talking about the offense. Let's talk about the defense.
Defense, you know what I mean? I got to give a shout out to Patrick Graham because in the second half, he did limit the Chargers offense to 7 points. And to be honest, you got Derek Carr at his worst. And he was just, if he would have taken what the defense was giving him, you're talking about a completely different game. And I mean, Derek Carr was playing so uncharacteristic of himself, but I do love the aggressiveness. I think if you can keep that aggressiveness, but pick and choose and time your shots when you're going to actually take those, you're talking about a completely different ball game. Now, the defense at first, it was a bit tough, right? They were out on the field quite a bit. Second half, though, man, they really rallied. They gave the Raiders offense the opportunity to get back in the football game, regardless of the 3 turnovers. So overall, the defense was a little bit shaky to start the game, but I thought that they actually came up and finished pretty well. Nate Hobbs had a phenomenal game.
Yeah, nah, Nate Hobbs, that dude has all the makings of becoming a Pro Bowler, at the very least, man. The guy,
He's legit, bro. He's a real deal.
they're putting him in the inside, the outside. They're playing him linebacker. They're just moving him around. That's what I love about Patrick Graham. He's gonna take advantage of a player's skill set, and that's what McDaniels is supposed to do as well. But obviously the offense was kind of off a little bit, but we'll see that in the future. But I just think with the defense, even with the defense in the second half, it kind of it seemed to me that like the Chargers kind of let the foot off the gas
Right.
pedal a little bit. They went into run game mode because they were in control. Let's be honest. The Chargers were in control most of the game, meaning that they were in the lead. They were dictating the game. The defense was obviously was dominating our offense, in my opinion, obviously with all the turnovers. There were some good things that we did, but I think that even defensively in the second half, like it was kind of like, they're running the ball, and then at the same time kind of like they're kind of letting the Raiders off the hook a little bit, like by running the ball, and then we're kind of like actually stopping them on the run and then getting them in third down, and they kind of got a little too conservative. You get what I'm trying to say? Like
No,
I
I
just
get
felt
what,
like
yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, and even Justin Herbert did something that I thought Derek should have did, and it was he actually progressed through his weapons. The Raiders did a good job of eliminating Mike Williams, did a good job of containing Keenan Allen. I understand he got a hamstring injury and left the game, but Herbert just kept going down the list of his weapons and kept attacking the guys that were open, which I think is a crucial aspect to the Raiders going against the Cardinals. Is if Derek Carr wants to have a good game, He's got to get back to taking what the defense gives him, something that he's thrived in doing over his entire career. Last season, you look, he didn't have a multitude of weapons. He had a Zay Jones, a Hunter Renfro. Darren Waller was missing. You know what I mean? You have a 35-year-old Deshaun Jackson. But yet he still found a way to get guys open. And that was something that was different, was the ability to scheme guys open. I just did not get the sense of that last Sunday. I didn't get like, okay, this is the game plan. This is what we're doing. Establishing a run game, getting Derek Carr moving out of the pocket. Once your first read is Devontae, we didn't really scheme Hunter Renfro open. Darren Waller got involved late in the game, but it was something that I would have liked to see happen a little bit more consistently. I don't know, man. I think going into this Cardinals game, I think they need to chill out. Maybe this loss could have been one of the better things that happened to the Raiders, and maybe just to kind of settle these expectations a little bit and get back to the fundamentals.
Yeah. Nah, it definitely. Hopefully, it's one of those things where it was like a rude awakening. Like, okay, they need to work on some things. They need to
Right.
actually like take that, because it seemed like they kind of went in with an aggressive mindset, very cocky mindset, going against one of the most talented teams in the NFL. But I think that they got some work to do as far as like the players getting used to the system. But good thing we're playing the Arizona Cardinals, and we'll get into that a little bit right here. Richard Lyons says, "Oh shit, the Pharaoh's tomb is open." Yes, open, brother. Hey man, it's open. It's gonna stay open. I'm back. Let's see. Jack is in the building. He says, "Ray Pharaoh, the nation, salute." Hey, salute to you, brother. Salute, man. Let's see. Ben Bass says, "We didn't do anything like in preseason. No screens. Facts, bro. Like it's like." They just didn't incorporate any of that. You know what I mean? Good thing that we have another shot at the Chargers, and I feel like that's going to even be a better game. And that being said, we lost by 5 points.
Yeah,
I'm over
and
here talking all this shit, but
Derek Carr said something interesting too at the press conference. He was saying that he's got so many things running through his head that he's programmed to know, and it made me think like this time with John Gruden, he really wanted to be like the coach's pet, and I don't say that in a negative way.
yeah.
But he has so many fundamentals memorized in his head, so many rules and concepts at the offense that throwing in another deep playbook like Josh McDaniels, it just looked like Derek Carr was just thinking a little bit. Like it doesn't feel like he had a grasp of what he was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
His footwork in the pocket just was off. Like Gruden was really trying to develop Derek Carr, getting his feet moving more, being more mobile, throwing on the run, creating opportunities outside of the pocket.
Yeah.
And
It's
dude, I
it's
think
it's almost like McDaniels is like the opposite of Gruden.
right, it just keep him in a box, and if
Yeah.
Derek Carr is limited in a box, bro, to be honest with you, I didn't like it that much. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. And I posted a video all over social media, and it was like a clip from the conference, from a press conference this week with Josh McDaniels, and pretty much he was a reporter asked him, "How do you feel about Derek Carr running the ball?" And he was just like preferably, I don't want him to run. I would like for him to stay in the pocket. He loves Josh McDaniels loves pocket passers, and he doesn't want the quarterback to run. He's and that tells you a little bit like that's how he's coaching the position. That's how he's
Right.
coaching the position. He's coaching Derek Carr up to not leave the pocket. Actually, use your outlets, use your check downs. Like, don't leave the pocket. He doesn't want that to happen. He did say like if it's available and that's the option, then go ahead and do it. But you kind of get a sense because Derek Carr, he's gonna do what the coaches wants to do. You know what I mean? Like he did what Gruden wanted, and he's gonna do what McDaniels wants. And I think that I want Derek Carr to do what's best for the Raiders in that situation, but hopefully he finds a middle ground right now. And I think that has something to do with it too, is the fact that he's still trying to figure out his way in the offense. He's still not 100% there, because it's a big difference from OTAs, practice, training camp, to actual NFL football game speed.
Right.
That's why I said it was so huge for them to actually play in the preseason, just at least like a drive or two, just to work out some kinks. Because I know they did I think they had the Patriots in training camp and they put on a show, but it's not the same, man. It's not the same.
No, and something that's unique about like Coach Priscillo and Josh McDaniels over his time in New England is that you alluded that he likes those guys just to sit in the pocket. And when you look at the rules in the scheme of this offensive line, obviously they're coming together with guys that you could say we could have a better we could desire a better offensive line, and you're getting a lot of guys that Coach Priscillo is working with for the first time. And to simplify things and to keep Derek Carr, I guarantee you that there's rules implemented inside this offensive line scheme unit that it prefers Derek Carr to stay contained inside of a pocket to find success. Because if he starts breaking out, maybe these guys don't have it all down yet, to get Derek Carr moving out of the pocket. But we seen it earlier when he was scrambling to the right and hit Devontae Adams on the sideline. That ability is there. And if that's an aspect of Carr's game that you could take advantage of, I think you're going to have to do it against the Cardinals. Now, I don't think the Cardinals has a better edge duo by any stretch of the matter. I think the offensive line is going to be in better shape, and hopefully, hopefully that's the case, because Dylan Parham, if he has to start at center, that's going to be a big task, bro. That might hinder this offense a little bit.
Yeah, Linnell says a lot of new pieces, new schemes on both sides of the ball. Give it another week or two, man. I hope, man. They got to
I
get
hope
together.
so.
They got to survive this first 5 games, because we just played the Chargers. That's one divisional game, and then obviously, this is, man. I'm gonna get into it a little bit how big this game is, but we're gonna play Denver in the next 4 or 5 games. We're gonna play the Kansas City Chiefs. These are divisional games. These are big games
We got
that
tough
we have
matchups
to.
coming up.
Exactly. And then even this game is a big game. And that's what's so good about watching NFL. Like, every game counts. Every game counts, man. And I'm gonna get into it.
Isn't it funny how, like, in this whole offseason, we're like, oh, Raiders are going, 15-3 or whatever it is. Nobody can match up with them and all this stuff. And how reality sets in come week 1. It's just the NFL does such a good job at balancing out talent.
Yeah, I like knee to the face entertainment / Raider Joe. Carr, I don't know. That's a crazy name right there. Carr had too many choices. He needs to calm down. He'll be fine. Hey, you know what? Maybe he needs to get used to, like, working with his weapons. You know what I mean? Obviously, we know that he's comfortable throwing the ball to Devontae Adams. As we can see, he had 10 catches, 144 yards, 17 targets, and Darren Waller. But just maybe knowing when to throw it to him, when not to throw it to him, because it felt like, I think Devontae Adams needs to get his targets. Like, he's
Oh, for
obviously the
sure.
best player on the team. Like, it's not even close, in my opinion. I think that it's just obvious how he could just come in and, like, he impacted the defense, the secondary, the whole team. The whole team is confident that Devontae Adams is on this team, including Raider Nation. So I think that he should get a good amount of targets, and then from there, they can divvy it out depending on matchup base. But I think Waller, would be the next. You could say Waller, because Waller's he's just a monster
Yeah,
walking
Waller.
mismatch.
Yeah, you're going to try to take advantage of matchups, which, I mean, Isaiah Simmons is one that you could attack. Zaven Collins, he's a 260-pound run-stopping linebacker. You're going to want to target some of these linebackers, but at the same time, the secondary is so weak for the Chargers. I know we're coming off of a week 1 where Devontae was targeted 20 times or 17 times, or whatever that outrageous number was. I don't think it's going to change that much. I could still see him having, 14 to 15 targets. And what I'm hoping is this week it feels a lot more designed. It feels a lot more intentional, if everybody understands what I'm trying to say here. Getting guys open and involved early. Let's get Hunter Renfrow involved early. Give this secondary something to think about. Get Darren Waller open. We know that the Cardinals like to play predominantly man coverage on the defense. Devontae Adams is going to be able to get open. How about early on in the game? Get Foster Moreau involved. Get Josh Jacobs involved. Get Zamir White involved. Get your other weapons involved, because Devontae's going to go in there and do his thing. Then let the offense start creating an identity.
Yeah, facts, 100%, man. And, I don't want to dwell too much on the last game. I know a lot of y'all have been thinking about that game for the last few days, and you hear everybody talking about it. I just wanted to talk about it because I didn't get a chance to talk about the Raiders versus Chargers. And I'm here with my brother Raider Ray, and he's man, he knows his stuff. So I like to talk football, but let's actually get into let's get into the Raiders Cardinals preview, man. This next game, man. And how do you feel about this next game, man? Let's just get into it.
To be real with you, man, it's a must win. I feel like, I know it's only week 2, but coming off of that kind of performance, I just feel like our back is up against the wall with the stacked amount of talent that this division has. You can't afford to drop back-to-back games. Like, you have to find an identity on the offensive side of the football. You got to find a way to scratch out, even if the Raiders scratch out a win. You alluded to it earlier. You almost feel like this has to be a dominant win. Do you want to kind of explain that, and then I'll kind of backpack off of that?
Yeah. We were talking about that before we went live. Yeah, I think I want this to be a blowout. I want this to be a blowout because I was looking at the Cardinals. I seen what happened with the Chiefs, and I'm not saying just because the Chiefs blew them out. I'm just looking at the talent on our team, the type of team they are, and the type of team they are is they actually let me just pull up. I'm gonna pull that up in a little bit, but Vance Joseph likes to blitz. This is a team that loves to blitz, and what we know from Carr, and I'm gonna pull up a stat in a little bit with Carr. What we know from Carr is that he loves teams that love to blitz because he is a cerebral type of player. He'll take advantage of the one-on-ones, the open player, the hot read, and he'll have a field day. So I feel like that's a
Right.
great matchup. Now the other side to it, in my opinion, is that you have a blitzing team, and then you have an O line that is kind of inexperienced at certain spots. And you mentioned Dylan Parham earlier that possibly might be center this week. Center is like the quarterback of that offensive line, and you're gonna have to like basically point out where the blitz is coming from at some point. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a miscommunications, so that's kind of my worry. But as far as like that defense and them being able to match up, they got a lot of things going on. The fact that their secondary is beat up, you know what I mean? Like crazy, they had a crazy offseason. I mentioned this to you earlier before we went live. Is the fact that Jeff Gladney, cornerback guy, unfortunately he died
Yeah.
in a car accident. And then they had a cornerback before the season started. Antonio Hamilton had like a cooking mishap, and I guess he had third-degree burns. So that's another player. And that there's a reason why Mullen got traded to the Cardinals because they actually needed depth at cornerback. There's a chance that he might play this week. He's limited, but their secondary is kind of shaky. Now you're telling me that your secondary is shaky and you're a blitzing team and you're going against the Las Vegas Raiders who have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, and obviously Darren Waller. And I'm gonna get into some other players as well, like that where we could take advantage. But what do you think, bro?
But I understand the ranking of their secondary and everything, but I know everybody always wants to rag on Andre James, but Andre James actually looked pretty darn good when you clicked the film on and watched it. It came out this week. I believe Sanjeet reported it that he was talking to two of the players that are starting linemen for the Raiders, and he said that Andre James is actually the leader of the offensive line. So if the Raiders are without Andre James this weekend, regardless of the Cardinals having a shaky secondary, with them being such a blitz heavy team, I think they're going to test the IQ of Dylan Parham, which is going to put a lot of responsibility on Derek Carr to get in and out of plays, which takes us back to the game plan in week 1. So while the Raiders have a matchup advantage and they're not going up against a secondary like the Chargers, it goes back to this IQ. It goes back to, can he address and identify defenses? Honestly, week 1, it wasn't. I mean, he had times, right? I mean, let's not overreact about it. Some of his throws were okay. Like the 2 interceptions, the one to Darren Waller. If he put a little bit more touch and high pointed that ball a little bit more, you're talking about a big play. Devontae Adams, if he would have just let him, you're talking about a potential touchdown or at least an incomplete pass. And every single one of his interceptions came off of sacks. A lot of people, I don't know if they got to see that in the breakdown, but every single interception that Derek Carr threw, the play before it was a sack. So I'm curious to see how Derek Carr reacts because if Dylan Parham starts at center,
Mm-hmm.
I do think Dylan Parham is the most improved offensive lineman. Him and Illuminor really are holding it down. So going into this game, dude, it's gonna be a match. It's not gonna be. I'm hoping it's a blowout, but to me, dude, I get this gut feeling that this game might be a little bit closer than what we want it to be.
I get it. I get it. What I'm saying that it's on paper. On paper,
Oh, on paper, for sure.
this should be a blowout. But as far
Sure.
as like what happened last week, we kind of seen that our offense and defense weren't 100% there. The players weren't 100% like comfortable out there, and then obviously the coaches like they got out coached. Josh McDaniels got out coached by um by the Chargers coaching staff. You know what I mean? That, in my opinion, I think
Oh, I agree.
offense and defense. Let's just keep it real. Like I
Yeah.
feel like they got out coached. Needed a face. Entertainment says Cardinals won't be able to stack with our offense. Defense is suspect too due to injuries and scheme changes. Raiders will win though. Okay, man.
I think
I
the
like the
Raiders will
confidence.
win. That's not the problem. It's just when you're right when you feel a little bit confident, you're like, oh, look at the Cardinals secondary. Look at this. A sneaky underrated injury pops up on the offensive line, and that's Andre James. That's crucial. You're talking about, even if Derek Carr doesn't commit an interception, you're talking about, hey, is there going to be any botched snaps? Is there going to be any snaps that go over Derek Carr's head? You know what I mean? And are these going to happen in pivotal moments? Is Dylan Parham going to be able to pick up these blitzes? There's going to be a lot. This is going to be a game where details are going to be in the pudding, right? Like Josh McDaniels has to come with a detailed game plan, because you can't just walk into this home game and expect to dice up the Cardinals. On paper, yes, we should go out there and have our way with them. Our wide receivers are much better than their defensive backs, but there's a lot that goes into that, as we've seen last week.
Yeah, man. And Severe Raider says, wondering how much intel Mullen is going to be able to provide to the Cardinals. You know what happens all the time. Teams pick up players from other teams so they can get some intel. But at the end of the day, like, you're talking about a player, Mullen, who wasn't even a part of the team during the offseason. He didn't get to practice. He didn't get to, obviously he knows a little bit, but yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think he's going to say anything that they don't know already, to be honest with you. He might give them a little bit of like, oh, like this guy likes to go this way or thing like that, but I don't think it's going to be a huge deal.
No, I think if this would have happened under the Gruden era, he would have been able to give him a little bit more, but he wasn't really involved with us in the off season. I guarantee you he doesn't know the ins and outs of all these guys. So even if he can give him tidbits, he can't go out there and play for him. So it's going to come up to lining up on the line of scrimmage and playing some football.
Linnell's like, is J.J. Watt playing this week? J.J., I know he practiced for the first time this week. He missed the first game. But if he plays, I'm not really – I think at this point in his career, I don't think he's the same player, obviously, just due to injuries and stuff like that. But I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to go. He might be questionable. I got to look into that a little bit. But I know he practiced today, so it's not 100% for sure he's going to be starting game time. Jack Kenneth says Parham had the highest graded of all the line. Yeah, man, he was the highest graded Raider. That's a great point. One of the highest graded rookies this week, PFF, especially pointed that out. Yeah, shout out to Parham, man. He did his thing. I think he was a big bright spot. But I think just coming into this game, anytime you see rookies on the O-line and they're playing a blitzing team, that has my concern. I'm like, it's a little red flag.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, man. But
I'm curious at how much they simplify it. In the preseason, Dylan Parham was getting a ton of snaps at center, primarily in the shotgun formation. Look for that this week. If Dylan Parham does get the nod under center, I think you're going to see a lot more shotgun. So just kind of keep that in your mind as you are watching the game on Sunday, and it could give him a little bit of a break, right? Lining up under center, spreading things out. Those are for more experienced guys who understand cadences and calls. And so look for them to play a predominant shotgun. I still want to see Josh Jacobs get involved in the running game. I think that's a crucial aspect of us getting an identity on offense. Get back to the fundamentals. I want to see the Raiders play smash mouth football again. I want to see Zamir White get involved. Brandon Bolden obviously has a knee injury. So maybe you're going to see a little bit more of these guys, right? A little bit more of our depth. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, get down into the depth of these wide receivers. Ski won't put Hunter Renfrow. Mac Hollins had that catch. He put the backpack on and got the first down. I was like, oh, he was firing me up low-key because I've been kind of crucial on Mac Hollins, but I seen that. That was a good catch over the middle of the field. But those are things that the Raiders need. You know what I mean? Take what the defense gives you. Pick your shots. Devontae is going to do Devontae Adams stuff. I'm not worried about that. Just get the identity of your offense down pat, and I think the Raiders are going to be okay.
Yeah, 100%, man. I agree. And just going back to let's get to the Cardinals, man. Like, and one of the things that like concerns me about this game is obviously I mentioned that they're a blitzing team and where they're going against inexperience on that line. And obviously Dylan Parham is going to be playing center. But another thing is Kyle Murray. Yeah. Kyle Murray, this dude is a monster, man. Since 2019, he's the second leading rusher at QB. You know what I mean? So if this guy gets outside the pocket, he can go for a long one. And not just that too. Last year, surprisingly, I don't know if anybody knows, his completion percentage was number 2 in the NFL. So he was right. Burrow, I believe, was number 1. he was right there at 69% as number 2. So it's not like he could just beat you with the legs. He could actually beat you with his arm. He's very accurate, has a good arm. So, and the reason why I'm concerned is because when watching like the Chargers and Raiders game, a lot of the issues that the Raiders had on defense was losing contain on Justin Herbert, getting outside the
Right.
pocket. Supposedly, the everybody, the statisticians were like, oh, the Raiders got this much pressure. We're pressuring the quarterback, but there was no impact because
No.
Herbert was moving around. Like it just felt like it didn't even matter. And this
And
is the
on top of
quarterback.
that, where was Malcolm Kuntz at, bro? Like
Mhm.
Malcolm Kuntz needs to get involved in the game plan a lot more. I think he played 4 snaps. That is just so I don't know, bro. The whole day, everything about the day. I hope it was kind of like a fluke with the coaching staff. I don't know, but Malcolm Kuntz needs to get involved more. I mean, you're talking about a rising star when it comes to being a pass rush specialist, and you're talking about a defense that needs to generate pressure up front. Chandler Jones going up against Kelvin Beachum this week, and also DJ Humphreys, the 2 tackles on this team. Look, Max Crosby and Chandler Jones should have a day. However, I will say this: don't expect a ton of sacks this week. I think the Raiders need to contain Kyler into the pocket. Don't let him get creative with his feet. Don't let him do what Herbert did to us last week with keeping his eyes downfield. And I think if the Raiders, the guys on the inside, guys like Bilal Nichols and Jonathan Hankins, Andrew Billings, if he's able to go this week, will look for batted balls at the line of scrimmage as well from these interior guys specifically. Set a good contained edge on the outside, force Kyler to kind of stay in a box and make sure those guys get their hands up. We all know that Kyler Murray is on the shorter side of the quarterbacks, and he's had issues in previous games of when he's contained in the box, getting the balls batted down at the line of scrimmage. So look for that to be an aspect if the Raiders can do a good contain. But yeah, Kyler Murray should be circled on this game because if the Raiders let him have a day and get creative with his legs, like I said, this game could be a lot closer than what we think.
Yeah, facts 100%. That was like the biggest thing because looking at their offense, I'm not scared of nobody. I mean, it's just be honest here. D Hop
No,
is missing for like 6 games due to a suspension for PEDs. So that's a big plus for us because we don't have to deal with that. D Hop is their version of Devontae Adams, but he's even a bigger piece because there's a huge drop off
in talent.
after D Hop. You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah,
like with the Raiders, we have Devontae Adams, we have, Waller, we got Renfro, we got all these guys, we got the running game. But with the Arizona Cardinals, it's basically the Kyle Murray and D Hop show. And if D Hop is not there, then Kyle Murray has to figure out. And obviously, they made a trade this offseason for Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, his college teammate, kind of like a Derek Carr, Devontae Adams type situation. Got his college receiver with him, but he didn't really do too much last game. Had four receptions, 43 yards, and a TD, which is okay. It's not too bad, but obviously it's not 10 catches, 144 yards. It's not that huge an impact if you compare it to that, but. Jack Kenneth says, the nation, please send the links to the show and Fair and Ray. This is some of the most intelligent conversation on our Raiders, man. I appreciate that, brother. That's a huge compliment, man. I appreciate that. Severe Raider says, I think we were out coached. I think we got out executed. The plays were there to be made. We didn't make them. Missed out on at least 2 touchdowns. Those facts, man. And
I
I
mean
know
the
you
one
mentioned,
touchdown to Darren Waller that was the 7 points you needed to win the ball game. And I mean,
yeah,
you're talking about one miss underthrown ball. You could have still won the football game. Think about it with 3 picks. That's wild to me. Like we lost this game by 5 points, which is why it was a little bit frustrating, come Monday when the game wrapped up and everybody's overreactions and I made a joke about it on my live show, like, oh, come on, dude, like Derek Carr sucks, man. Like he's not the guy. And it's just like
no,
it's
no, no.
so annoying, bro.
I'm
Like
I'm I'm not gonna overreact, but I also do understand that like this is the no excuse year. This is
facts.
I'm sorry, Derek Carr. Derek Carr has everything he needs. They just need to figure it out. Obviously, we're premature in crowning the Raiders as being this top elite offense, but they haven't figured that out yet. They haven't hit, and that's why that's another side to it is that the fact that we didn't figure it out yet, and we lost by 5 points.
Exactly. What
That's
is
what.
this team gonna look like mid-season or towards the late of the year? Like if this offense can find its identity and get clicking, Like, bro, this is gonna be a nasty. It has all the potential to the hype of what we build it up. Uh, but I think even the locker room was sipping the Kool-Aid a little bit. You know what I mean? Going into that game, I have not felt that way about a Raiders game in quite some time. One, I was extremely hyped up and excited. The video shared of Devontae Adams coming out of the tunnel and the camera guys walking behind him, and it just kind of felt like, oh, it's about to happen. But dude, as soon as that game started, it just felt like there was no offensive game plan. I just hope if this game kicks off on Sunday and I'm getting those similar vibes to like DC doesn't know what's going on, like there's not an identity of where we're trying to go. There should be a little bit of a cause for concern there, because if the Raiders don't show up, it's gonna be another tough game.
Yeah, facts. And Raiders 805 is pretty much preaching what you're saying, guys. It's only one game. Just wait and see. I know it's just one game, but it did suck that like Carr, because I know he could play better than that. Like,
Oh,
man,
for
that
sure.
he had a touchdown to Waller. He had another touchdown to Waller, in my opinion, if he hit him in stride, but it was an interception. It was an underthrow by to Devontae Adams, but amazing interception by Asante Samuels. But even if Asante Samuels didn't get there, guess who was going to intercept it? The cornerback there was going to intercept it, as he kind of stole that pick from the other corner, if you
Exactly.
think about it. And then obviously, he threw it late to Renfro, and that the rest is history.
For me with Carr, dude, I'm not a big fan of letting your receivers come back for it. When I watch film of not just Derek, but quarterbacks around the league, if I'm going
Mhm.
to take that shot, I'm more wanting to put it out in front of the receiver and risk the overthrow instead of making the guys come back and run into the lap of two defensive backs. So on that one, I would have liked to see him put a little bit more mustard on it, maybe catch it more towards the back of the end zone. Um, and yeah, but dude, what we're talking about is two interceptions that are just literally off by a small amount of room. Like, these things are going to get worked out, and when they do, the Raiders are going to be a deadly offense.
Yeah, man. I just want to make a little special shout out, man. Raider Ray, man. He's literally 9. I mean, last time I checked, you were 9 away from 1K. If you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead to his channel and subscribe to his channel. Get him to 1K. Hopefully, we can get him there today. Man,
Mm.
the guy, he's fire content. There's a reason why he's on my show. There's a reason why I'm working with him. There's a reason why we're talking football, because the guy knows what he's talking about. So if y'all haven't subscribed, go make sure to like his videos and subscribe. Get him to 1K. And yeah, and make sure y'all like my video too as well. I'm trying to get to 1K, but I'm not just there yet. But let me
Yeah,
get
before
back
you
to
guys
the
even subscribe to me, make sure you subscribe to Pharaoh. You know what I mean? Like, I'm grateful that we've got to work together. He knows his stuff. I'm glad that we've got the collab. I mean, everybody in the nation has seemed to love it. And on the road to 1K, as soon as we hit 1K, if you screenshot the link that you share on your IG or whatever social media,
Mhm.
you DM me on Instagram, and your name gets put into a raffle to win the very first Raider Ray hoodie. So I'll get your size and all that info. So we have about 10 to 15 guys in the running for it right now, but we're not at 1,000 yet. So as soon as we get to 1,000, we'll cut it off, and everybody that screenshotted that and sends it over to my Instagram, you're entered into a raffle.
That's dope, man. That's dope, man. And I'm gonna be on the lookout for that merch too as well once you
Yep.
put it out. But whoever gets it is gonna be a lucky person, man. Because I love supporting. You know what I mean? Like people who put in the work, who put in good work. And I'm sure I haven't seen it yet, so I know you got something cooking back there.
Yeah,
So I,
no,
I,
it's
I
in the
haven't I
works.
haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the hoodie yet, but I know it's gonna be some fire. But let's get back. So let's get back into the Raiders Cardinals preview, man. So we're talking about Kyle Murray, the fact that we need to contain him. We can't let him get outside the pocket. We can't. It's not even about him just rushing. It's also him getting outside, because he's accurate. He has a good arm and he's accurate. So if he gets outside the pocket, he's almost money. He's probably better even rolling out, to be honest with you, because if he's in the pocket, he's not really a big guy. So you're mentioning that, to bat down passes. So we got to make sure we stay in our lanes. But another thing that I noticed, and I kind of read up on this during the week, was the fact that Isaiah Simmons, he's a guy that I love coming out of
Me
college,
too.
man. The dude's a freak, bro. Like he's versatile. They got him. They moving around everywhere. And the one thing that he actually has is the green dot on defense. Surprisingly, I was surprised. He has the green dot on defense. It's his first time ever in his career, ever in football, to ever have the green dot. and he was actually talking about that during the week and how like it's almost like a different level of conditioning because imagine like playing football, but then also like having someone in your ear like, hey, you got to call these plays and you got to get everybody in this place. He was talking about
Exactly.
how like he can't celebrate no more. He got to go straight into calling a play, straight into the next play because he has a huge responsibility. So he's still figuring out that position. So I'm like, okay,
That's something you can exploit a little bit too. You could tap into that.
you could exploit, and I'm sure the Chiefs did. I'm sure the Chiefs did because he actually dropped a pick last game. I was kind of pissed. I don't know if you watched a little bit of the Chiefs
Yeah.
in Arizona game, but there was a point in the game where he had like a easy interception. I'm talking about the ball was like right in his hands. He dropped it. But what do you think of Isaiah Simmons on the Arizona
Oh
Cardinals?
man, Isaiah Simmons was somebody I was huge coming out of the draft. I really wanted to see him in the silver and black, and I believe it was last season there was talks of him potentially being able to go on the trade block. There was just some weird stuff going on, and I was just hoping. I was like fingers crossed that because let's be real, he hadn't kind of lived up to the hype yet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He has all the talent. He has every type of makeup, measurable speed that you want in a player. You can move him inside. You can move him as a box safety. You can just do a multitude of things with Isaiah Simmons. So if he can develop, that's going to be somebody to look out for. Um, However, I do think that that's a good point that you brought up about him getting the green dot because you can take advantage of that. You can really test this guy's ability to line up guys in the correct gaps, and you could test his knowledge of the defense. So I'm sure that's something Josh McDaniels has in the back of his head. And also, if you can get these linebackers to spread out a little bit and force them to cover guys like Zayvon Collins, if you can get him outside and ask him to guard a tight end or Hunter Renfro, there are matchups to take advantage of. I do think that the linebacker core is probably the most stacked unit right now for the Chargers that are actually healthy. So getting them involved heavy in the run game, maybe wearing them down. That way, come the fourth quarter, Josh Jacobs can get going downhill, running the football. Your play action can start to work, and if it is a close game, it can kind of be in your hands a little bit. You know what I mean? Your offense is cooking. You have an identity of what you're trying to do. So the linebackers for me, address it early. It's probably the most talent on the roster. Address it early, run at them, see what Isaiah Simmons understands of this defense when it gets to getting guys lined up. But honestly, I think if you just take what the defense gives you, I think the secondary is so beat up that you don't have to get crazy with it. I think the Raiders try to get a little flashy week one. If you can simplify the scheme and simplify the game plan going into this game, I think the Raiders actually could win by pretty big by keeping it simple.
Yeah, and another way to test them is hurry up offense.
Yeah, some we didn't see last week.
Hurry up offense, like, literally, you gotta keep attacking them. I mean, obviously, they're probably gonna be running the same defense if they're gonna hurry up, and they might change it up a little bit, but at the same time, like, that's the quarterback of the defense, the guy who wearing the green dot, he's getting the calls in, so, like, try to catch him off guard, and I think that the Raiders, Derek Carr, that's up their alley, you know what I mean? McDaniel's alley.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that the Cardinals went? I know philosophically they're predominantly a man defense. Do you think that they went heavy man defense and heavy blitz week one because they felt like they matched up with the Chiefs' offensive weapons a lot better? And going into this game, could you see them switch it up and maybe drop back into more zones,
Oh, yeah,
given the amount of weapons that the
they're
Raiders have?
definitely they're definitely gonna have to switch it up because, they probably didn't respect the weapons, they didn't respect the receivers that the Chiefs had. Like, let's be honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people can't name 3 or 4 3 Chiefs receivers just at the top of your head. You gotta really think and be like, "Oh, okay, yeah,
Oh
I know."
yeah, they
But
got him.
yeah, yeah. So other than Kelsey, you know what I mean? They don't have premier names. At the end of the day, they had to, like, test them out, and it didn't work. It didn't work. I think with the Raiders, with the Raiders, they're gonna come with the game plan, and it's this is a huge game.
It's
This is a huge
huge,
game, and
bro.
we talked about it earlier, and one of the key stats that I wanted to bring up was, a must win is one of the most overused terms in sports, but it's probably it's but the reason why it's a must win game is because a team that goes 0-2 has less than 13% chance to go to the playoffs. Less than 13%, bro, since 1990. So
Mm,
that's a big sample size.
mm.
You know what I mean? That's over 20 years, 20
I
20.
I said it, man. I said that to me, the Raiders' back is against the wall a little bit. Like, I feel like they have to come out here and win this game.
Mhm.
And I'll take a win even if it's by a field goal. Obviously, I want it to be a lot more than that, but I just want to see a cleaner offense. Let's not turn the football over this week. And I think if we don't turn the football over, we have a really, really good chance of winning this game. 13%, bro. That's not good. That's going to be an extra weight added to the back. And we talked about it on the last live show that we did together, dude. Derek Carr has a different type of pressure on him this season. He had all the built-in excuses all over the years, right? All the offensive coordinators, all the head coaching changes, the lack of weapons, the 32nd ranked defense, all this stuff that you can talk about, right? All these built-in excuses. That's not the case now. And if the Raiders start dropping games, everybody's going to be dropping their eyes down at Derek Carr. Like, he has a different pressure, and I'm curious to see how he responds to it, especially coming off of a game like he had last week. Are we going to get locked in, Derek? Because did you see it on the sideline? Like, I didn't see that dog in Derek. It was like
Mm,
Derek would come off the field, go sit on the sideline, and was just mad. Like, it wasn't like a dog where he's like, all right, let's go, getting the guys together. And it
yeah.
just, the whole thing fell off to me. So I'm
Yeah.
curious to see if we can't get that dog DC on Sunday, because we're going to need it.
Yeah, like I said, on paper, I feel like this is going to be a blowout. I feel like they could easily take this team and take them to the cleaners just based off. I think our coaching staff is better. I think the players that we have on our team on offense and defense can match up and destroy this team, to be honest with you. And I know that sounds crazy because last week, but you know what? We played against one of the most talented teams in football. And it looks like, like the Chiefs and Chargers right now, they're going head to head right now. So it's a good game. But at the end of the day, like the AFC West is the gold standard right now, and as far as the best division in football, in my opinion, I think you got three teams. I think Denver's probably going to be the worst team. I seen Denver against the Seattle. I was like,
No, that didn't
"Ugh."
look that good.
It did not look too good.
The
So I
thing
think
is
it's
the Raiders have it. You know what I mean? It's just putting it together. Like, you've seen the glimpses of what they could be. And to allude back to it, man, we lost by 5 points. Like, let's not freak out. I think that we match up very, very well against the Cardinals. It's just this week, I'm going to lower those expectations a little bit, because until the Raiders go out there and prove it and really put their foots on a team's throat and prove that, hey, we can go out there and dominate a team 35-17. We got to let this roster prove it a little bit. We are so quick as a fan base to jump to conclusions that, hey, let DC and Josh McDaniels and let this team go out there and figure out a way to go and bully another football team.
facts 100%. Knee to the face says Josh McDaniel loves to run. He probably get back to that and ease that into. He should have done that week one. Week
Facts.
one.
What was
Week
that
one.
quote that you shared on Instagram? Something about, where did you find that, where Josh McDaniels was saying, like, I believe it was you that shared it, because I was going to ask you about it, about how pretty much the game was lost because of Derek Carr.
You know what? That
Was it
was
fake?
that was that was a fake tweet.
Okay,
I
because I
quickly
was
deleted
looking
it.
for, I was like, oh man, I want to see where
Yeah,
he said
because
that, because
man, it was a fake tweet. You know what they did was, I don't know if you're familiar with Vinny
yeah,
Bonsieur or
Vinny
whatever his
Bonsignore.
last name is, Vinny. They literally copied his whole first name and then they had his picture and pretty much posted it. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is Vinny, and I'm like, oh, damn, like it's a crazy comment
I
talking
know. I
about
was
how
like
like
looking for the video, because I was like, bro, that's taking a shot. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
that's crazy. And then I looked further, and the username was different, and I'm like, there's no blue check mark, and I was just like, man, they got me. But Twitter is like infamous for doing that. Like
Hey,
they'll try to
let's be
trick you
honest
like that.
though, it was a real thing, which is why it got my attention. Like, I was like, hey, if he really said that, talk about keeping your quarterback in check.
No, but he said it. He said it in person, and he said it in a very nice way. Like during a press conference, he could have he was just I remember he was describing how Derek Carr could have put maybe a different throw, but it was way more. He was selective of his words.
Right.
You know what I mean? Probably trying to protect the player from the media, and you know how the media will take words from a coach and just go run with it. So
I'm curious to see if it was Josh McDaniels play calling or freedom for Derek Carr to kind of go out there and do his thing. You know what I'm trying to say? Like,
it's interesting because I think I think it was a combination of both. I think it was both McDaniels being aggressive. They had an aggressive, game plan for whatever it was. Just basically, basically give Devontae Adams the ball. They're throwing it downfield, but also you heard Derek Carr at the end of the game, like he was just like, man, I was too aggressive. You know what I mean? There are chances. There are open guys. There are other guys. There's other guys that he could have threw it to. He could have dumped it here and just, live to fight another down. And I love when Derek Carr plays aggressive, but I like the aggressiveness where it's kind of strategic. Like you're actually like going at them and making them you're going at them at will, and like you're figuring out ways to like slice and dice them by throwing short passes, intermediate passes, by working at different parts of the field. But it seems like, last game, it just, like I said, it was off. We keep going back to it because it's like, damn, like,
It was so evident, bro. Like,
yeah,
it's been a long time since I've watched a Raiders football game where I'm like, I feel like they don't even know what they're doing. Like, I really didn't. Like, even DC's pocket awareness, like, just watching it from the house view, you know what I mean? It was just like that inside clock, that eternal clock that every quarterback needs to have and get his feet moving. Like, you would start to see Joey Bosa or the safety creeping back into the box and start to get to DC, and DC's not moving at all. I'm like, bro, like, where's that internal clock that I seen such improvement last season? Now, he wasn't perfect last season by any means, but his ability to create on the run was a lot better. And it's just, if this offensive line is that type of patchwork, those are things you're going to have to get back into, regardless if McDaniels wants him to stand in the pocket or not. There's ways that you can reset that line and bootleg out and give DC even more time to keep his eyes downfield. So I'm just curious, man. I'm curious to see the adjustment from week 1 to week 2. I'm curious to see how different this offense can look. Hopefully he gets back to running the football heavy and just simplifying this game.
facts, man. And another thing too is like, like, man, the three best players I said on the field earlier, like, were definitely Herbert. Herbert was clearly a guy on offense where our D line is talented, but he made it seem like they weren't getting pressure. The way he was moving around, the way he was just throwing on the run, the way he was getting the ball off, the throws that he was making, like, like the dude has a cannon arm. And then obviously Khalil Mack, and then Devontae Adams. Those like the three best players that, like, I clearly was like, wow, like these guys are legit.
If you wanted to throw a fourth, you could probably say Nate Hobbs, because he kind of jumped out. He
Yeah,
jumped out
Nate
at the
Nate
screen
Nate
too.
Hobbs, Nate Hobbs. I'm just excited that we got a secondary corner. You know what I mean? It's hard to find a good corner. You know what I mean?
And not only is he like a good outside corner, right? Because we've seen some relatively decent boundary guys in recent years. Nothing on the level of Nate Hobbs, but this guy can move all around the football field, inside, outside, drop him down in the box and get him involved in the run game. Like, to be honest, it felt like he was kind of taking over the role of what Abram was going to be doing, like that box role. Like, he's a sure tackler. He plays really good with his hands. Nate Hobbs is going to be, honestly, you could honestly say he's probably, if you're going to talk about the Denzel Perryman getting a contract extension, me personally, I would kind of hold off on that. Obviously, the cover 3 Gus Bradley scheme fit Denzel Perryman, and I want to see him a year in this system before we just go out there and hand out money to him, especially for just a downhill run stopping linebacker, because Divine Diablo has stepped up big time in run defense. We kind of talked about it last show. His pass coverage is not that good, and it showed up again last week. And
Yeah,
I
it
think
did. You
I
did.
hope that
You
was the
called it. You
game.
called it too. You called
Yeah,
it.
I hope that was the game that kind of like opened up Raider Nation's eyes of like, hey, pump the brakes on this whole Divine Diablo being the best next coverage linebacker in the NFL. He's not. Actually, he's a lot better run defender than he is a pass defender. So to me, I think Nate Hobbs is going to be that big next purchase on the defensive side of the football. Like, hold off on the Denzel Perryman talk, maybe Trayvon Merrick, but I think Nate Hobbs is going to be that guy that you're going to have to set money aside to pay that
Oh
guy.
yeah, for sure, for sure. And there's a reason why, like, I'm not sure when that contract comes up. You know what I mean? This is his second year in his rookie deal, but there's a reason why. It's Dave Z. He's a mastermind. He plays chess. That he's made the lengths of some of these contracts the way they are. Like a lot of like the veterans that got the big deals, they got 3-year deals.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And there's an option for them to actually get rid of them. You know, like Derek Carr, for example, they can get out of this year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you get where I'm trying to go with this. Like they have some wiggle room, and they know that the reason why they made that, they're going to be upcoming young players that they want to sign long term, and Hobbs is definitely going to be that guy eventually down the road. Right now, he's on his rookie deal. That's what you want to have. You want to have your good young players on cheap contracts, have other players in their prime, and then keep drafting well. You got to keep the good teams, they know how to manage teams like that. And Dave
Yeah, they're
Z,
consistently building a roster consistently. So, do you think this is going to be one of those games where we look back on later in the season and talk about how Chandler Jones had such a big game?
I hope so. I hope so. It's funny because the coach of the Arizona Cardinals in a press conference, he brought up, one of the beat writers brought up, something about Chandler Jones, and he didn't want to say anything because he didn't want to give him any material, any motivation for this game. I mean, I'm sure he has a lot of motivation as a former team. Like he probably felt like they should have brought him back. Like at the end of the day, players will get motivated by any little thing, especially great players. They
Exactly.
find little things to get motivated by, and a guy like Chandler Jones, who's been doing it good, been a great player for so long, I'm sure he probably has like the fact that they didn't sign him was good enough for him to just be like, hey, this is a big game. It's a big game either way.
Hopefully, this is one of those games that, he does find that thing that fires him up and gets him ready to go on Sunday. I just kind of felt like he did have a tough matchup going up against Rashawn Slater in week
Mhm.
one, probably a top 5 left tackle in the NFL. But at the same time, when you're a premier pass rusher, you got to find a way to win. You know what I mean? Khalil Mack found a way against Colton Miller. I felt like Chandler Jones needed to find a little bit more of a way to win in week one. So week two, hopefully this is one of those games where he can get his hand on the football. You know what I mean? Get a strip sack, get after Kyler Murray a little bit. Maybe, if there is a guy who knows this offensive line tendencies, it's going to be Chandler Jones. So maybe there's some things on film that he can pick up that, hey, when they line up in this formation, when they are given these kind of calls and cadences, these are what to look out for. Obviously, those things change year to year, but there's still going to be transition and carryover. So I'm curious to see. I think we should keep our eye on Chandler Jones. I know he's a little bit underwhelming week one, but week two, I think he has a real opportunity to get in there and take advantage of his matchup.
And going back to the Arizona Cardinals, I was looking at, like, obviously it's just been one game, and this is the same coaching staff from last year with the Arizona Cardinals, same coach, almost same players. They got probably some new players, but I was looking at some of the tendencies, and I think, and I did this last week with the Chargers, and I felt like, let me see what I could find on the Arizona Cardinals as far as their tendency to pass, and they're at like 56%. So they're pretty much close to a balanced team. And I looked up that they're 11th ranked running offense, or top 10 at least.
Yeah.
In running offense. And the defense was actually 11th ranked. So there's a team that made the playoffs last year, and every year I can't think of the stat, but every year I think there are new playoff teams, at least two. And I don't think that Arizona is going to be that team to repeat this year. I just don't see it, because they just got a lot of things going on. They're in a tough division already with the Rams and the 49ers and everybody, but that being said, man, it's going to be a good game, man. You want to get into like the three keys of the game?
Yeah. So number one for me, dude, is the first key to the game is Derek Carr needs to take what the defense gives him. That was evident of week one. We can't have that no more. We can't have this throw it up to Devontae just because he's my best friend. He's the best player on the football field. You could still be the best player on the football field, but go about things strategically and play disciplined football. So for me, the first key is that Derek Carr needs to take what the defense gives him. Number two, attack this Cardinals secondary. You know what I mean? Pick and choose your shots, but the weakness of this Cardinals defense is the secondary. So you have all these offensive weapons. Get creative, utilize these guys, really test the knowledge and the skill set of these defensive back units. And number three is contain Kyler to the pocket. Don't allow him to get creative. We seen it last week with Justin Herbert. He was able to get outside of the pocket, keep his eyes downfield, and make big explosive plays. The Raiders did a really good job of limiting Austin Eckler. If they could have kept Herbert inside the pocket and made him force to throw the passes inside of the pocket, I think you're also talking about another game. All those big plays came when Herbert was able to get creative with his feet and keep his eyes downfield. If the Raiders can limit those explosive plays, I think that they have a real chance to win.
Yeah, I like that, man. I think that you kind of took one from me as far as containing Kyle Murray, because that's pretty much their offense. Like, honestly, to be honest with you, they do got James Conner at running back. he's solid. But I think establishing the run game is going to be huge. At the end of the day, I think how the O line responds this game, I think will be good. I want to see how another key would be Dylan Parham,
Yep.
the inexperience of this line. I want to see how they handle the blitz. On one hand, I love the Carr matchup with the blitz because I know that he can handle that. I know he's a cerebral, but then at the same time, like based off last week, the fact that he didn't look too comfortable, it doesn't seem like everybody was comfortable. Everybody was in sync, the coaching staff, including Carr. And I think with Arizona, it's kind of a weird game a little bit, but I just think on paper, we should blow this team out. On
Right.
paper,
Majority of the time, like I love that statistic. Like, oh, you play a lot of man coverage and you like the blitz. Cool. But it's like right when we get a favorable matchup, it's like that injury to the offensive line. The performance that he had week one, Carr historically under the first year of whatever head coach that he's had has had a drop in statistics. I don't know. Maybe that's something to keep an eye out for this season. So maybe this isn't going to be an overnight thing for the lights to come on for Carr,
for
in this
sure.
offensive scheme.
For sure. I think they need to make it an easy game. And how you make it an easy game, establish that run game, try to make easy throws, and then like kind of almost similar to last week, take calculated risks. I think there's going to be shots in the game for sure with a team that blitzes like that has a lot of one-on-ones, but I'm sure they're going to be a little prepared too because it's a must-win game for them as well. Because I threw that stat about how less than 13% of teams make the playoffs going 0-2. So I just think that the Raiders just gotta.
I think you're going to get the best from both teams this week. That's why I think it's actually going to be a good game, bro. I think we're honestly
I want a blowout though. I want a blowout.
I want it
feel like,
too, but
and I'm not gonna lie. This is a game that I would like. I just feel like it should be a blowout. But based off certain circumstances, I understand what you're saying. I understand that based off last week, the offense and defense, it's a work in progress. They haven't hit their stride yet. The coaching staff needs to prove to us. I know I put out a video today about former NFL players. I don't know if I Am Athlete, where they're talking about how they've never been so prepared
right
by anybody except by Josh McDaniels. And if
That
Josh
didn't look the case
McDaniels
in
brings
week
that
one, though.
element, yeah, he has to show it though. He has, you know what I mean? He
Yeah.
has to show it and has to show on the football field at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So I think I hear what you're saying, but I just feel like this is a perfect game for it to be a blowout. It's just perfect. Everything can set up, but at the same time, I get what you're saying. I get 100% what you're saying.
Do you feel confident with Dylan Parham at center?
No,
That's the thing, bro. That's the thing.
no,
Like for
no,
me, like
I don't.
say this offensive, because honestly, I think all this talk about the offensive line. I see Jack Kenna ask me a question about the right tackle and the DB will win or lose this season. Ray, take a pick of this. To be real with you, the right tackle position was not the problem week one. Illuminor let up one sack to arguably one of the best pass rushers in all of football. Outside of that, he did remarkable. He really held his own against Joey Bosa. But Joey Bosa was pretty quiet. Let's be real. The left side of the offensive line was a problem. Khalil Mack getting after Colton Miller 3 times for 3 sacks. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't hear any Raiders content creators talking about Colton Miller and Khalil Mack matchup. You know what I mean? Everybody just thought, hey, Colton Miller's going to do his thing. He's going to hold it down on the left side. And that wasn't the case. That's why going into these games, man, you really have to look at every single matchup, what can go wrong and what might not go wrong. And the left side was the biggest problem, Jack. It wasn't even the right side. And look, this whole offseason, we've been like, right tackle, right tackle, right tackle. That's the issue. That's what's going to hold us back.
Right.
Week one, your Pro Bowl left tackle lets up 3 sacks in crucial moments of the game. So see, it's just sometimes we got to tamper things down, simplify things. I would feel a lot more confident if this offensive line was healthy, because I actually think they did a lot better than what the stats would say. I think a lot of the sacks came from Derek Carr not moving in the pocket.
Yeah, not moving in the pocket, holding the ball a little too long. There were times where it was on them. Don't get me wrong. There were times where obviously Khalil Mack was in that D line is legit. So I'm not saying that our O line did, but at the end of the day, they're gonna win some. You know what I mean? When you're going against a talented team like that, they're gonna win some battles. I just think that like Carr has a little bit to do with it a little bit. You know what I mean? Like
For sure he
his
does.
struggles, like that was a bad game by Carr. Like I was just like just shocked, but I wasn't. I was shocked, but I was just like, like damn.
I tell you what,
this type of game.
starting a rookie center for a second career game in a game that you have to win, that's tough, bro. That's tough. and especially only getting a week to prepare. I know he's gotten snaps all preseason at center and everything, and he got a lot of reps in the preseason. But look, dude, this is a whole different situation. The Raiders actually have real pressure in a real game that really matters, and it's early on in the season. Like your percentage of 13%. If we know that and we're discussing that here on a Thursday night on our live show, you don't think that Josh McDaniels knows this stat as well? So these guys, both teams know this, and that's why I think you're going to get the best of both teams. So it's going to be interesting.
So we're getting to that part of the show. Question and comments. We're gonna get into the chat, but before we get into that, let's go with a prediction, man. Like, how you feel this game is gonna go? Who's gonna win, and what the score is gonna be? And you know what? Let me throw a little bonus.
Okay.
Standout player. And the chat, you can get involved with this too as well. Guess a score, name a who's gonna win, and then standout player.
Okay. I'll give you one offensively and defensively for standout player. Standout player defensively, I'm just gonna go with a hunch, and I'm gonna say Chandler Jones shows up this week.
Okay.
He's gone against the left tackle multiple times. I'm sure he knows his tendencies. I'm sure he's beat him 1,000 times in practice before. I'm sure the left tackle has also gotten some on Chandler Jones. So I think this is a week. It just feels like it's brewing in that direction that Chandler Jones is getting his first home game in the Raiders. It's going up against his former team. It just feels like it's stacking up for a matchup there at the left tackle position to watch for. Offensively, I'm actually going to go Josh Jacobs, bro. Hopefully, Josh McDaniels can simplify this and get this back to the basics a little bit. And I think Josh Jacobs has the potential to get downhill and have a pretty big game and get back to simple football. As far as a score goes, Raider Nation might not like it. My gut, I see it in my head. I see 27-24 Raiders. I see it being a pretty close game, actually.
Okay. Raider Gabe disagrees. He says a lot to a little. He says a lot to a little. He feels like it's gonna be a blowout too. Because I can see it being a blowout.
See a blowout. I just feel like every time I feel that way as a Raider fan, it never goes that way.
It's just that, man.
I hope you're right, bro. I hope you're right.
It's just realistically though, it's because of what happened last week.
I know.
And just seeing not because we played against a good team. Obviously, that was part of it. We played against a good team at the end of the day. Like, we're gonna
right.
It is what it is. When you play against a good team, there's gonna be battles. It's gonna be a close game. They're gonna win some, you're gonna lose some. But it's just the fact that, like, what was happening during the game, what we were doing, it just seemed everything was just off. And
if
you mentioned,
it's a blowout, I see 30-14 Raiders.
Oh, you giving out two scores though. You're supposed to grab
I'm giving out if the Raiders do their thing, it's probably 30-14 blowout. But in my head, man, I just see that
27-24. Okay, 27-24.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going with the Raiders, and I'm going 28-14. 28.
No, yeah, that's a good score.
28-14. I think if the Raiders handle business, I think they can take care of this game. Like you mentioned Chandler Jones being a player of the game. That's a good one. I think another player to watch is you said Chandler Jones and Josh Jacobs.
Yep.
You said Chandler Jones, Josh Jacobs. Okay. I'm gonna go with the easy answer here. I'm gonna go with Derek Carr.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Derek Carr. Derek Carr has to step up, man. Like, in order for us to win, he has to play great. He has to play good. He has to step up. And I think that this is a game that has his name all over him. Like, as far as like the fact that they blitz a lot, and he's one of the. And I gotta pull up that stat. It was actually by Josh DuBois. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Yeah. Josh DuBois, is that his name?
Josh DuBois, I think.
Yeah.
And he had some crazy stats. Like, since 2015, Derek Carr is like number 3 against the blitz. Like, his rating is 106 over 106, and that's number 3 in the NFL, which is crazy. You know what I mean? And that tells you
the type
how
of
good.
weapons that we got. Look, I mean, this is how I felt though, low-key, like going against the Chargers, bro. I felt like, oh, the Raiders have a real opportunity to go out here and put a stamp on this, but it's just like, I just want the Raiders to prove it to me, man. That's it. I just want to. How much can they actually improve in a week on the offensive side of the football? 1, that's what I'm curious about. 2, how much can you improve on the offensive side of the football with losing your starting center? How much does that limit the offensive play calling? How much does that limit the protections that you can call out? Like, dude, I think that has a big aspect to it. And if you're asking Derek Carr to predominantly line up in the shotgun, 85, 90% of the game, does play calling start to become a little bit predictable?
Yeah.
It's just, there's a lot of things that when you start peeling back the layers of this game, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna throw a random one, a standout player, because I know you did offense and defense. I'm gonna go defense as well. And I know I said DC on offense.
Yep.
Obviously, I went with the obvious one. I was thinking about Josh Jacobs as well, but you took that. But I'm gonna go with Abram. I like what I seen
Okay.
in that first game. I like from I seen it. It was a controlled Abram, and he was
Right.
physical. I just think that I got to see more from him. I want to see how he unleashes Abram this week, especially with Morrig most likely not going to play with that hip injury.
I want
I
to
wanna
see Abram get involved blitzing, and I want to see him be that spy on Kyler Murray, and,
Yeah. I
like,
think someone mentioned that in the chat. They were talking about how like Abram should, because I think he's like one of the most athletic players on the field, like one of the fastest players on the field. Like the dude's explosive, like especially when he goes downhill. Dude's a monster.
Debo says, LOL, since the 70s, we seem to play to our opponent's level. Why do I feel that way? I always feel that way, bro. Like even when we were playing like the Jags and the Bears and all them last season, it's like we would go up against these good football teams like the Baltimore Ravens, yada yada, you go down the list. Like we played good football. And then we would play these teams that we should be stomping out, and we play to their level or below it. I'm just like, I hope we can get over that hill.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's the old school thinking.
You
That's the
think?
old school
Yeah,
Raiders
maybe I
where
need to shed that.
yeah, and I feel you. I'm with you 100%, but I think that's the old way of thinking as far as like how the dysfunction of the Raiders. But I think this is a new regime, new coaching staff, and they got their own vision. And I feel like with Josh McDaniels, when it's everything is going to be hitting on all cylinders, it's going to hit and it's going to get there. It's just not there yet. I think we're not going to be talking about oh man, are we going to win this game again? Are we going to blow out this team when it's obviously a blowout? You know what I mean? Like this is a easy blowout team, but I understand where you're coming from, Ray to Ray. I'm just like, hey, this is a game I could easily see be a blowout. It could be bigger than my score being 24-14. Like it'd be way bigger. I just think but that's if we're hitting on all
Mm.
cylinders at the end of the day.
Hey,
So
Loki, if they simplify it, it could happen. I honestly feel like less is more with this offense. I
yeah,
really do. Like, because on paper, I guess you could say, like, how are you going to stop that? You know what I mean? If you could have a steady run game, you're scheming guys, Hunter and Darren and Foster and all these guys, and then implement Devontae. It just felt like it was like the Las Vegas Adams. You know what I mean? That's what it felt like last week. And it's like, and I get it. He's the best wide receiver in football.
yeah.
I get it. You're going to target him. He's going to be your first and second read. But how much more could this offense be that much harder to stop if everybody got involved, and then you have to deal with Devontae?
No, facts. And shout out to Queen. Queen's in the building. Appreciate you pulling up. Always showing love. She
Shout out to you,
got a
Queen.
huge following on
She
IG. If you
does.
haven't followed already, go ahead and check out her channel. She's always posting Raider stuff.
I tell you
Good
what, you
content
get
over
one
there.
shout out from Queen, and I'll definitely be at 1,000 subscribers.
Facts, man. Yeah, and then that's another thing too. If you haven't subscribed, man, go ahead and hit the like button. Hit the tunes, hit the like button, subscribe. I'm road to 1K continues. Obviously, you can if go ahead and do that. But most importantly, you know what? My man over here is 9 away from 1K. 9 away. So if you guys haven't subscribed, go ahead and check out Raider Ray's channel. Subscribe, get him 1K, like his videos. The algorithm is real. I'm telling
Got
you, I'm trying to figure this algorithm out. It's been a minute since I've been back, but it is real. And it really goes a long way when you guys like the video along with subscribing if you haven't already. But yeah, man. Okay. Van City says, Pharaoh and Ray, thoughts on my last comment. Let me go to your last comment. And yeah, if you guys have any questions and comments, go ahead and send them in. We're gonna wrap it up soon. Let's see here. Oh, okay. Was it this one right here, Van City? I'm nervous about the season, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like we all got caught up in the hype, and now we're here. I feel like our holes are too glaring. So I guess O line is one hole. What would be the other one that you would say?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't even.
D tackle,
It's the O line, but it's
D
not
line.
in the aspect that we were talking about. You know what I mean? The right tackle wasn't the issue.
Mm.
It was the left guard position, and Colton Miller had a rough game. And also,
Cole
dude,
Miller, man, Khalil Mack. You know what I mean? Good thing there's not a lot of Khalil Macks out there.
and this is something that we don't talk about is Colton Miller was drafted to fit that Tom Cable system of zone blocking. He's
Facts.
a really good finesse guy, gets out in space really well. Now that he's simplified into power blocking scheme, maybe this is going to be a learning curve for Colton too. So
That's
the
true.
left side of this offensive line might be something to actually keep an eye on moving forward as well. The left guard, really, you guys, I'm more worried right now about the center to the left side now. Like
Mm.
before the season started, it was right tackle to center that you're like, what's going on here? To me now, it's the center to the left tackle. It's like now I do believe Cole Miller is going to be okay. I mean, I trust his preparation and the amount of work he puts in. But that left guard position, bro, that's a real need. Like my personal opinion, I like Jordan Meredith. He's on our practice squad. I thought he had a really good preseason for the Raiders. Maybe that's a guy that you could look into promoting. I know that they were working out Kelechi Osemele and signed a center. That's another reason why I think Andre James is going to be out this game is they signed a center to the practice squad. So this game's got a lot of moving parts to it.
Yeah. No, you make a good point too, because Johnson, he makes a lot of mistakes. He makes a lot of mistakes,
He
man,
got
and it's
bullied last week.
he makes a lot of mistakes. But it was a tough D line. We're gonna see what's gonna happen this week. It's interesting though. They brought in a lot of guards. They brought in some players for workouts. I know that the other day everybody was excited. Raider Nation was excited about Kelechi Osemele
He's
coming in
old, bro.
for a workout. Yeah, he's old, got bad knees.
That's not something that you'd really want to see. You know what I
Nah.
mean? I would promote from within. Jordan Meredith, under radar type of guy.
Mhm.
Keep your eye on him. I know a lot of people might not be saying that, but they've been developing him. He had a really good. He was the highest graded guard in the preseason up until like week 3, I believe, of the preseason. So he's a guy to keep an eye out for. But I don't think that John Simpson's the guy, bro. And honestly, the left side is more concerning to me than the right side at this point.
Yeah, and the thing is too with the O line, especially when they bring in guys, they're gonna bring in guys, put them on the practice squad, let them like develop them, not develop them, but like learn the offense,
Yeah,
get comfortable in the system first before they even think about putting them in the game. Because they already have guys in the practice squad who are already like kind of like used to the system. They got guys like Alex Bars. I know you mentioned Meredith. They got guys that they can put in there that they kind of trust because they know the system. Not necessarily say they trust their talent that well, but like more so that they know the system. So if it's an emergency, they can easily just plug them in. But whoever they pick up at this point, it's just going to be a guy that they're going to stuff in the practice squad. And
exactly. And that's something that I try to explain to everybody is that look, like even if you were to go out and sign Daryl Williams, it's so like you're not just gonna go sign him and plug him in and he's gonna start next week and hold it down. That's just not how it works on the offensive line. Like these dudes have got thousands of reps together this entire offseason and look at where they're at. You know what I mean? This is a development. This takes time to establish. This isn't just our answer is just sitting out there on the free agent market. It don't work that way. It's not Madden football. So what we have and what we have on the practice squad, this is what we got to work with this season.
Tin Ginn says last year, 9 out of the 14 teams that made the playoffs started out 0-1.
Hey, I love
Zero
that
and one.
stat. I wish we could pin that one. I
You know, I
love
mean,
that one.
that's a good stat. But also, if you if you were here earlier, I also dropped a stat about a team that goes 0-2 has less than 13% chance of making the playoffs since 1990. Over 30 years sample size, and less than 13% of the teams that started 0-2 make the playoffs.
This is a
So
big game, boy.
it's a big game. It's a big game. You know what I mean? Whether we like it or not. But that's why we watch football at the end of the day. Every game counts at the end of the day. Like divisional games, random. Like this is actually, if you think about it, if we lose a game, not this game obviously, but if we lose a game against a non-conference, it doesn't hurt us as
Right.
much as like a team in our conference or in our division, because those games have playoff implications. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, before the season kicked off, that was my prediction was like, hey, if we can lose to these NFC teams, It's not that I'm okay, but I'm more comfortable with losing to those ones just because the impact that it means on our season. However, I don't feel comfortable dropping an L to the Cardinals based off of the statistics that you're just putting out there. Like, it
Oh,
almost feels like this is a must-win game, and we're the second game into the season.
okay. We might have some breaking news.
Oh, great.
Herbert is down on the field and he looks hurt. And it's okay. Herbert went down. Oh man. I mean, I'm not the type of people who wish injuries on
No,
players,
I don't
but
either. I don't
if
celebrate that.
if that happens, let's just say season's over for the Chargers.
It says he
Season's
just
over.
went back in. I just read
But
the comment.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm watching the game right now. It's I don't know if it's the delay. He's still in the game. I think he might have got banged up a little bit, but he's still in the game. It's 24-17 right now. He it looks like he
Who's
did get
winning?
banged up though.
Who's
He got
winning?
hurt. The Chiefs, they're winning 24-17.
Oh, dude.
Yes, it's a good game, man. The Chiefs, man, they're not going away, man.
It's Andy Reid, bro. It's
It's
the
Andy Reid,
coaching
bro.
ability.
Andy Reid. I know a lot of people are talking about Tyreek Hill, this, that, and the third. But at the end of the day, they have a great quarterback and they have a great coach. You know what I
His
mean?
regular season numbers are ridiculous. Like, Andy Reid knows how to win football games.
Facts.
That's what I'm like. If we coach like that against the Chargers, like when we go against the Chiefs, bro, like Josh McDaniels better step up. Like, because
That
Andy,
and
that's a
and
tough
that and
matchup.
that's what has me that when Josh McDaniels came to the Raiders, that got me excited. That
Yeah, me too.
that got me excited because now that gave us a potential of a coach actually out coaching a guy like Andy Reid, another upper echelon coach. You know what I mean? But last weekend, we got out coached.
Yeah, and that's
We got out coached. We got outplayed. It wasn't, it was kids when I was able to jump on. Hey, appreciate you, Daniel, man. Appreciate you pulling up, man. But yeah, look, yeah, he's still in. Okay. Okay. He said Herbert just got slammed after releasing the ball, and of course, no flag. We tap him, refs all over it, nothing new. You know how it is. You know what it is, man. He's hurt. Queen says he's hurt for sure. Okay. Think his ribs messed up. Man, football is a physical game, man. Physical game. But yeah, man, hey man, if y'all haven't already, make sure to like the video and subscribe, man. I think it's about that time, man. Do you have any closing thoughts, man, about like the next week's game? I know we kind of we talked about a lot, man. We talked about we covered a whole lot, but
Yeah, we
what do
covered a
you
lot.
okay.
Really, man, just keep DC clean. Simplify this game plan. Contain Kyler Murray. Again, make it an emphasis to stop the run and make them one-dimensional. Hopefully, we can get them in a hole a little bit to where they become a little bit more predictable and the defense can come up with some turnovers. Overall, man, Raider Nation, I feel like this is a must-win. I feel like I can feel the pressure. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, it's just one game. Let's chill out. And I do agree with that. And I think that the Raiders will make corrections. But it doesn't take away the weight and the magnitude of this game going into week 2. So I'm curious to see how it goes. I'm curious to get to talk to Pharaoh again, and I'm sure we'll be messaging as the game is going on and after the game. So, Raider Nation, man, if you haven't subscribed to Pharaoh, the guy puts out awesome content. He's back. We spent tonight in the tomb. I got to walk the sandy halls. You know what I mean? I got to
finally came into the tomb, man.
I finally came into the tomb, man. So we'll consistently keep putting it out, man. So shout out to the chat, man. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you pulling up. And then you know what? This is actually going to be a consistent thing. I'm going to be on Raider Ray's channel next week, and then we're just going to go back and forth. So just be on the lookout for that. And Van City says he's definitely holding his ribs. Oh, okay, man. That's going to be tough for them, but I think he's still in there. He's a big quarterback. He's tough, but yeah, man, I appreciate everybody pulling up, man. And like I said, if you guys haven't, subscribe or like the video, make sure you do that because it really helps me out. I'm still trying to get to 1K. I'm still trying to like the video, but also Raider Ray is 9 away. Last time I checked, he was 9 away. Hopefully he's a little closer. Get him to 1K. Please get this man to 1K. He's right there. He's putting in a lot of work. I got a lot of respect for what this guy does week in and week out. And man, I appreciate everybody pulling up, man. And until next time, man. Peace out, Raider Nation.
Great Pharaoh. The gift of Troy is a fabulous fabric from the land of the 5 rivers.
Just win, baby.
Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it.